Hi, everyone. Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear, coming to you live on stress, sex hormones, and successful patient cases, success with patients. I'm a holistic physician located down here in sunny Florida. And I would say the number one thing that I hear from the majority, if not all of the patients that we work on, number one thing is stress. Stress. What is stress to you? So you can put in the comments, what would you consider your biggest stress? Is it, I don't know, is it your job? Is it your schedule? Is it your family? That sounds horrible that your family is your biggest stress. It's not a good thing. Is it your neighbors? Is it what is it? Is it money? Is it time? Is it you are supposed to be living out your purpose and you're doing something else? Is that what your stress is? What is your stress? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. What is your stress? I would say my stress is good stress, but deciding to write new projects and never feeling like you have enough time. But then also the self-induced part where you put pressure on yourself because you want to make sure you do a good job. But isn't it weird? Like, so, if you use school for an example, so you have a test and you're studying for the test and you're putting extra stress or pressure on yourself because you want to do well on the test. Practical tests, I think, are a whole other level, right? So a theory test is maybe taking multiple choice, maybe it's an essay, maybe it's a fill in the blank, right? But a practical test, like I had in chiropractic school, is you have an instructor, or like I did for my board exam, you have an instructor, and you have the instructor watch you do something. So in chiropractic, maybe it was setting up a patient for X-rays. Maybe it was showing a chiropractic adjustment, how you would do that. Maybe it was showing orthopedic tests. So chiropractors are very, very versed in orthopedic tests of the spine, joint tests. Orthopedic test is a joint test of the spine, the neck, the mid back, the low back. Also, we have training in shoulder tests, elbow tests, knee tests, ankle tests. My first degree in sports medicine, very, very good with orthopedic tests. And we had to do practical tests on, how would you evaluate somebody with shoulder pain or knee pain or ankle pain or whatever, right? And so in the practical test, I remember you're waiting for the instructor to call you. You go into the room and your hands might be sweating, your heart might be racing, but who is making your hands sweat? It's not the instructor. You're doing that to yourself, right? You're increasing your sympathetic nervous system to handle the stress in front of you that you created, right? So why do we do that? Why do we make our hands sweat? Why do we make our hearts race? Why do we, put this extra pressure on ourselves? Is it because maybe you haven't practiced enough? Is it because you're not confident? Is it because you could have spent more time studying and you didn't? There's times, I'll be honest, there's times where I was like, oh, I should have reviewed that more or whatever. So what is it? What is it with stress that causes you to feel where your sympathetic nervous system, so the sympathetic nervous system is the one that deals with stress. It is the one that will increase your heart rate. It is the nervous system that will increase your blood pressure. It's the nervous system that will increase your digestion. But that's why, like, if an animal is being attacked, it might just wet itself and run away, right? It just, dumps the load. Sorry to be kind of gross, but dumps the load and escapes, right? And so that sympathetic nervous system, with an increase in its action, will have certain signs. I see so many patients that are having trouble sleeping, right? So if you have the two nervous systems, you have your sympathetic nervous system, you have your parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is more of your fight or flight, run away, right? So if a bear encounters you, you could run away from the bear or you can fight the bear. I recommend that you move away, right? Maybe not run, but move away. Some people say you should scream. I don't know. I'm not a bear expert. There are bears in Central Florida, if you guys can believe that. Miami, where I'm from, no bears. Central Florida, where I currently reside, yes, bears. And so my husband has left the garage open and has left dog food bags, a bag of dog food that we're not ready to consume, not ready for our dog to use yet, in the garage. And there's been a bear that has gone into our garage, stole the dog food bag, and ripped it apart in our front yard, right? So there was a time he opened the door and he saw the bear. So what do? He closed the door and was very happy that the bear decided to leave the garage, right? So that's your sympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is a nervous system that helps to relax you and repair things. If you do not go into a parasympathetic nervous system, it is very, very hard for your body to repair itself. Those of you that are having trouble sleeping, it could be that you're stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. You're not switching into more parasympathetic. And why does that happen? It could be that before bed, you're watching like this crazy intense movie, or you're watching this crazy intense show. I like cooking shows. I used to like the show 24, so you guys can let me know if you ever watched 24. But that was a very, like, the clock was ticking and things were counting down. It was really intense. And I remember there's times where it was like, and I didn't even feel like I was like breathing. I was holding my breath with like sitting on the edge of my seat. That is a sympathetic nervous system stimulating show. I like cooking shows. So my daughter and I, and even my husband, like to watch Food Network, and we'll watch the cooking shows. But even then, they're like racing to cook this thing, or they're racing against the clock, or they're racing against each other. And it's like everything's really, really intense. And every now and then when I'm traveling, there'll be a channel that's playing some older show, so maybe a show from the 80s, or maybe a show from the 70s, or, something to that effect. And I realize, if you guys haven't watched something from the earlier decades, it's a very different show. It is very calm. It's very relaxed. And so people used to eat dinner and sit and watch TV and to relax. And one of the problems is people still do that, but it's not relaxing. It is very high stimulating in your sympathetic nervous system. And so you're in that stress mode during the day, you're dropping the kids off, you're going to work, you're doing this, you're running errands, you're trying to get to the bank, you're doing all these things. Then you get home, rush around. And then if you're trying to relax and you watch these shows that are very, very intense, you're in that sympathetic mode the whole entire day. You're going to have difficulty getting into that parasympathetic mode to sleep. We are seeing so many more patients that are having trouble sleeping. They're stressed and they're having trouble sleeping. Now, stress also has an effect, the other part of the title, on sex hormones. So those are your reproductive hormones. And what we're seeing is that people's stress hormone, the hormone called cortisol, goes very high. And when cortisol goes very high, it is difficult for the other hormones to be balanced. It's actually pretty impossible if hormones should be at different ranges. And when the cortisol levels are high, it throws off the production of the other hormones. It causes imbalances in hormones. And so, you bring me a female in their 30s or their 40s or their 50s, and they have, heavy periods, or they have cramps, or they have tender breasts, or they have hot sweats. That's a good name for it. They have night sweats. They have hot flashes, hot sweats. That's funny. It's hot flashes and night sweats, and I called it hot sweats. It applies. I mean, I've had patients with hot flashes, and they're like dripping sweat, or they're like fanning themselves because they're so hot. Why is their temperature so not regulated? Why do people get overheated? It can be that the gland in front of the neck, called the thyroid gland, which functions as our thermostat. So just like your air conditioning, you can turn it colder, you could turn it warmer, or your heater or your furnace, you can make it warmer, you can make it cooler. Your thyroid gland functions as your thermostat. If your stress hormones are really, really high, and that thyroid gland is under stress, or the adrenal glands are under stress, if you're female, if your ovaries are under stress, if you're male, if your testicles are under stress, you're going to have imbalance in your sex hormones. And you are going to have symptoms from the imbalances. Now, the medical treatment for this is that they go ahead and they give you bioidentical hormones, or they give you hormones. The problem with that is those are synthetic chemicals. Those synthetic chemicals will never naturally, synthetic and natural, they're opposites, right? They will never naturally balance out your system. And so what I see, and I hate this when I see this, and I feel so bad for the patient when I see this going on, is that the doc will turn up the hormones and turn down the hormones and turn up the hormones. This is classic in the thyroid case. They turn up the synthroid, they turn down the synthroid. They turn up the synthroid, they turn down the synthroid. They turn up the levothyroxine, they turn it down. They turn it up, they turn it down. They adjust the progesterone, they adjust the estrogen, they give females testosterone. And once you start giving synthetic hormones, what do you think happens to natural production? Your natural production goes down even further and causes more imbalances. Every single synthetic hormone is a chemical with side effects. It will imbalance your hormones. So now I'm not saying, I repeat, I am not saying if you're on synthetic hormones to stop that. Do not do that. You will throw your system completely out of whack, and that's a horrible thing to do. So do not do that. But what I am saying is if you have imbalances in your system, so for a female, it looks like irregular periods, heavy periods, light periods, skip periods, painful periods, crampy periods, breast tenderness, misemotional, acting like a crazy person, those are all signs that your hormones are out of balance. For a male, it looks like low testosterone. It looks like man boobs. It looks like feminine characteristics. It looks like decrease in muscle mass, increase in fat mass, and you're moving the wrong way. It could look like with high testosterone, it could look like male pattern baldness that can happen with high testosterone, or extraordinary drive. And you guys know what I'm talking about. So too high is not good. Too low is not good. Balanced is what you're aiming for. So instead of adding more to a imbalance, which will never fix the cause of the problem, we look for in quantum nutrition testing, which is what I do in my office in Palmer Natural Health. It's what I teach in our academy, is we look for the cause. So what is happening in the person's environment that is imbalancing this? Is it overconsumption of foods in plastic? Right? So plastic water bottles, heating your food up in plastic in the microwave, saving hot food items in plastic, using saran wrap or plastic wrap, high consumption of plastic particles when you heat up the plastic, right? And I'm not saying, so please guys, don't take it. I am not perfect. I'm laughing because there's a plastic water bottle over there on my kitchen counter, right? So there's times I get thirsty, glass water is not available. Water in glass bottles is not available, and I'll drink out of the glass water bottle, right? You do the best you can with what you have. You don't have to be perfect, but if you're having hormonal imbalances, look to see if there's high consumption of plastic. You're using a lot of plastic. Look to see if there's chemicals in your environment. So certain chemicals negatively affect hormones. Look to see if there's heavy metal toxicity. And if you need help with any of this, we're happy to help you. We're happy to look to see, hey, we're looking for what is causing the imbalance. Just like you go to your car mechanic, you want your mechanic to figure out the cause of the engine problem, right? You don't want the mechanic to make your car go faster. You don't want your mechanic to make your car go slower. You don't want your mechanic to just pull the fuse or turn the warning light off, or the whatever those lights are called. I can't think of the dashboard light. You don't want them just to remove the warning, right? You want them to find the cause of it. So maybe the light's going off because you have low tire pressure. Okay, good. You don't want them to paint your tire or add on an extra tire or do something weird. You want them to fix why the tire pressure is low, and maybe it just needs some air. Or maybe there's a leak and you need a new tire, or you need a patch or whatever, right? You want your mechanic to find the cause, and you should expect the same from your natural health care practitioner. What is the cause? What caused this imbalance in the body? And then what is the natural solution to rebalance that? And we rebalance it with whole food supplementation. We rebalance it with herbs. We rebalance it with homeopathics. We rebalance it with things that do not cause harm. They are not medications. They do not have side effects. And when that is applied properly, when that technology is applied, it doesn't have to be perfect, but when it's applied at the best of that practitioner's ability, what will happen is the patient will have success. What does that look like? The hot flashes, hallelujah, go away. There's no more PMS. We have a patient, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know my period was coming. Usually I have cramps and I'm bloated and I feel horrible. And this cycle, I didn't even know it was coming, because usually that is my warning, it's coming. And I'm like, well, those warnings are just signs of imbalances, right? It is that a male has good muscle mass and energy, that he can do the things he needs to do for the family. He has energy to do so. If you're exhausted, you're not lazy. It just means something is not balanced. If you have to drag yourself out of bed every morning, something is not balanced. And so we look for what is the imbalance and what can we do to help you naturally fix that, naturally handle that, naturally give you the education so you know that certain things are going to lead to a great night of sleep and certain things are going to lead to a horrible night of sleep. Certain factors will lead to a painless period. And certain factors, if you do X, Y, and Z, would lead to a horrible period. So some of you guys would ask me, like, what would lead to a horrible period? Well, a horrible period would be, overconsumption of sweets, overconsumption of caffeine, overconsumption of alcohol, staying up too late, not getting enough rest. Those are all things that would imbalance your endocrine system and be more likely to have cramps, heavy period, skip period, and that kind of stuff. So we'd love to help you. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Leah. Leah just bought a plastic water bottle. So plastic water bottles imbalance hormones. You want to find ones that are BPA free. Unfortunately, some companies got smart to that and they're using a different type of plastic that's worse than BPAs. So heads up on that. What would be the best water bottle is actually what we give people is a glass water bottle. You're not going to get plastic contaminants, obviously, from a glass water bottle. The stainless steel water bottles, it depends on what you're drinking. And so if you're drinking something acidic like orange juice, you don't want to put it in that water bottle. If you're drinking coffee that can be acidic, that may make changes in the water bottle. So glass is best. Obviously, glass without lead would be preferred. And, you want to limit your use of plastics. Okay, cool. So you guys can let me know, do you have questions? Yes. Summer Baking Championship. Plus the blue light. Yeah, Danielle. So the blue light will keep you up at night. It can cause imbalances in the body. Cell phones. So cell phones in your face right there on that pineal gland will distort your sleep. They do emit electromagnetic fields that can cause negative reactions in the body and not so good. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. So we talked about stress. If you have stress that you feel like you don't have enough time in the day, you feel like you're going off in all different directions, you feel overwhelmed, look at all the things that you have to do and prioritize what are the top 3 things that you have to do. And then I find that most patients, they don't allot enough time for the things that they have to do, right? So they're like, well, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to do this. I got to do this. Got to do this. And they don't allot enough time for those tasks. So they get into overwhelm. I love to use an old school paper calendar and planner, and I can write out for my week the different appointments, the different events, the different meetings that I have, the different things that I do. And I can clearly see what I've already have obligations and responsibilities to do. I can clearly see, okay, I have this much time to get this task done. I have this much time at home to do these tasks. I have this much time of office time, and allotting those times. Oftentimes people are stressed because they have this one thing that they have to do, but it's the thing they hate to do. Like, I don't really love doing payroll, right? For my businesses, I don't really love it. But I know it has to be done, right? I want to take great care of my employees. I want to make sure they're super well taken care of. So it's not that I have to do payroll, right? So as soon as the calculations are done, I'm getting payroll done. So I don't have to think about that. I got that task that I don't love to do done, and I don't have to think about that for the rest of the week. So look at what you have to get done, prioritize what you have to get done, write down and schedule when you're going to do it, and I bet you'll have less stress. If you're having trouble with hormones, let me know. I'd be happy. My team at Palmer Natural Health would be happy to help you. The office number is 407-682-8444, or you can go to palmernaturalhealth.com. My team would take amazing care of you and figure out the cause of your problems. And then we want you to experience success. We only take cases that we believe that we can help. We only take cases that we believe that we can get a positive result on, because we want you to be successful in our program. I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear. Good night, everyone.